Hi guys, I'm Blake here today with Lilleys Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful upper Lake Taneycomo, and it is a beautiful day out today. It is 2:01 in the afternoon. It is Monday, February the 21st, and this is going to be the one cast today. So today I am right up here, just right below the cable. We are over here on the north side and the outlet side, and today's my day off, but Phil is out of town for the week and decided to come out and fish, and I've been fishing for a couple hours now. And it's like 73 degrees outside. I got partly cloudy, a little bit of wind, and it is just a wonderful day to be on the water. So today I've got one of Phil's fly rods out of his office. I believe this is one that our friend Mike built. So I think it feels like a 5-weight. It doesn't say on here because it's custom, but 5-weight fly rod. I've got about 14 foot from my leader material all the way down to my first fly. And today I am throwing the Trout bead. That is a 4mm orange pearlescent. It's got a little size 10 egg hook. And I'm going to scoot that just a little bit farther, about an inch above the hook. It is pegged with one of the trout pegs that they make for the trout bead. Right here I've got a size 12 peppy gray scud. Those are about 13 or 14 inches apart, and then another 20 inches up from that I have a size AB split shot weight up top here, and this is only because I didn't have any of the size that I wanted with me. I have the biggest airlock indicator that they make, and I have 5X tippet running down to the end of the rod there. And I believe the fly line that he has on here is the rudder weight forward 5-weight line. I'm going to take the spot lock off. I'm going to let the boat get to drift into speed here. I'm going to scoot in just a little bit closer to the outlets, but I'm not going to get so close that I'm interrupting where these guys are casting. When I cast this much leader, it's like I said, I've got about 13 foot or so from my indicator down to my flies. I always let it flip back behind me and kind of touch the water for a second, and then I kind of lob it back forward with a nice straight arm like this. That keeps those flies and all that stuff kind of straight and keeps it from tangling too terribly much. When you're throwing that much leader with a double flies and a split shot, and you got 3 different points where that line is wiggling in the air, just want to do your best to get a cast out there that's not going to tangle you up all the time. Any little slight bit of wind and stuff also affects that. So, not the prettiest cast in the world, but it is very effective, and I've been fishing for a few hours now and have not tangled up. That was a fish. A few things today. I'm going to be doing a lot of footwork with the trolling motor, because the wind has been picking up randomly. But basically, oh my gosh, okay, I can't go from there. That was a missed fish on the first cast. There's 2 bites already. But lots of footwork to keep the indicator floating, drifting even with the boat. Oh my goodness. I'm keeping as little line on the water as possible. Doing little small mins, but essentially just trying to keep that thing drifting nice and freely. Today I've had the pleasure of being able to be out here and fish all these different spots today. There's one. And so I've gotten a little bit better idea of where they're eating and how they're eating. And so today I'm going to do the drifts where I think I'm going to have the best luck, and then I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to drive down the lake and just keep hitting all the spots that were best for me today. See if this fish is going to give me a run for my money. Something cool about having the spot lock function is you can sometimes, if the fish isn't too big or running too hard, you can just kind of hit spot lock and not lose any ground. Let's see if I can get him in here real quick. Today, like I said, I've been fishing the bead and the scud all day, and it's been a 50-50. I'd say they've been favoring the bead, honestly. It's the first time on the lake that I've had real good success with a bead. Come here, buddy. Nice. Healthy rainbow. He took the scud. And that first fish that I missed actually hit the bead. This line's kind of thin. That peg will still slide if they grab a hold of that bead. So make sure that you move it back up. But I can tell that first fish hit the bead because he grabbed a hold of it and slid it down the line. You really don't need super far casts when you're out here doing this. You've already got 13 foot that's going to be dragging behind the indicator. So today on the water, talked to Brett Rader for a little bit. He's using some scuds that he ties up, and he said the scud egg combo underneath the indicator for them was working pretty good. Bill Babler, his morning trip this morning, he said from the boat ramp up here by the dam down, dragging scuds under an indicator on the 9-foot spin cast rod for them was real hot. And then his second trip of the day, they started off dragging jerk baits on the bottom, still starting in the same spot, just a little bit above the boat ramp. And he was down by the narrows dragging eggs and scuds again. And so he did say he caught two nice. Bill said he caught two nice, real nice trout this morning on the jerk bait. I don't know if they were. Oh, that was a fish, and I missed him. Oh, I missed him. I don't know if they were actually throwing the jerk bait and retrieving it, or if they were just dragging it on the bottom this morning. They said they caught 2 real big pigs this morning. I'm still just about the same distance out from the north bank here. We just went past outlet 2 about 100 yards ago. Coming up on outlet 3. Once we get down to outlet 3, I'm going to scoot over and fish over near the root wad, kind of down to where Big Hole starts, and then I'm going to turn the camera off and go down to the sycamore tree above the boat ramp. They've been, like I said, they're running 2 units today. They ran 2 units all yesterday. They've been running it all today. So the fish have had a little bit of time to acclimate and keep a constant flow going. I think it helps the bite. Alright, we are just about even with outlet 3 here. I'm gonna pull the boat across the lake here. Bring this in while I'm moving and just check and make sure that that last hit didn't pull my trout bead down next to the hook. And I'd say that he went for the trout bead again because it is slid down just a touch. I don't think the water is heavy enough to pull that trout bead down, but I think that when they bite it, it is definitely enough. Use the trolling motor to get the boat up to speed real quick. I'm going to go downstream for a second. Enjoying today because that front that they've been talking about will be moving in starting tomorrow into Wednesday and Thursday. Chances of rain tomorrow and snow the 2 days after that, and much colder temperatures. Been really pleased with the trout bead today. I keep wanting to catch fish on it, and I've tried it a few times with little success. The only difference with today, oh, there was a fish. The only difference with today is I have went to the smallest bead I could find. Oh, yeah, that was a fish. Oh, I lost him. Sometimes on that bead, because they're biting the bead and then you're setting the hook, and he took the bead. Sometimes you don't get a hook set, and that's just the way it is. I was talking to another guy, he's a local here, and I wish I remembered his name right now. But he was drifting a bead today as well, and he said he had a couple on for a second, just like that, but that they came off. And sometimes it's just hard to get that hook in their mouth after they grab a hold of the bead. Oh, there he was. He still thought he was hooked and jumped out of the water. I probably should have checked the bead again. What happens with that bead is they grab a hold of the bead and then you set the hook, and the hook slides into the corner of their mouth, as long as you're quick. And that's the reason you don't want to set it really more than an inch or an inch and a half above the bead, or above the hook. Oh, there's another bite. They're hitting it. Because if you have a bunch of space between the hook and the bead, you'll wind up setting the hook and hooking them in all kinds of other crazy places. There's another one. And that's not good for the trout, so gotta be ethical with the amount of space you leave between the bead and the hook. But this guy, he took the scud. And the last fish I hooked, it would seem there's a really nice pretty rainbow. The last fish I hooked did take my bead, so I'm going to have to rig a new one on. Be right back, guys. Okay, we're all rigged up. I just realized that was my very last egg hook, so hopefully I don't break another one off. We're basically right on the edge of where Big Hole starts now. Come on now, cooperate. There's a fish. Oh, he came off. Probably the egg. It was definitely the egg. There's a fine line between setting it fast and hard enough and hooking them with that thing, and not hooking them good enough. But it's fun to get bites anyway. Alright, I'm gonna turn the camera off and I'll be back. Oh, there was a fish. Oh my gosh. We'll be back whenever we get down below the sycamore tree. Alright, I'm back again. We are just right on. Sycamore tree is right there. Little ramp right down there. Pull in my rig and just make sure everything is functioning properly here. Yep. Okay. If I can get it to cast. So I'm going to stay right on the outside where that tree is, creating that little seam on the water. It's a little bit deeper right on this edge. If you scoot in, that's all one flat there. And the fish can totally be on there too. I think Bill was a little bit closer in earlier when they were drifting their scuds through there. But either way, good flat. Realistically, I probably could have just kept repeating my drift from the cable down to the big hole and done really well. I've caught a few fish each time I've done that today. But each one of the spots that I'm going to hit today, I've also caught fish in. Just about every drift I've went through them. Oh, there was one right there. He gave it a pretty hard tug. With 2 units of water running in the lake, you can pretty well make your way all the way up here to the dam. Kind of just stay in the middle and don't get too close to any of your islands or edges. And I'm not too confident. That last pull is a pretty hard one. I just want to make sure that I still have everything on there. And I do. Well, I'm really glad because I don't have any extra egg hooks. Me and a few friends of mine went out last night while they were running the 2 units and came all the way up here to the dam and threw the Signature Series jerk baits. And the bite was a little slower than I would have thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be pretty stellar, but it was slow. But we did catch 1 over 20. And we only fished from the cable down to just right above outlet 2, and then we called it a night. We thought it was going to be a little warmer than it turned out to be. We're not dressed properly. Well, we just dropped below the boat ramp, about 75 yards below it now. Still favoring this south side. This flat here on the edge of the island. It's another great spot for scuds and zig patterns. Basically anywhere along the edges of the islands or the bank. You know, the rainbow mating season has begun, and so they are starting to drop eggs. And all those spots are places where they hang out and do those things. So those are also going to be the spots where the fish are going to pick up and eat that egg the best. I haven't had much success with getting bites anywhere out in the deep middle and the open. It's always been along these edges and the flats. That 80 split shot is just the right amount of split shot for today. I can see it ticking the bottom when I go through some of the shallower spots. The bobber kind of just barely getting pulled back. Not too much though, just enough. And so I have not had to adjust my weight since the beginning of the day. They've also continued to run pretty much the exact same thing all day, so that is helpful. Well, here in just a second I'm going to turn the camera off again, and we're going to go along the edge of the big island once I get down there. Actually, I'm going to do it now, try to save some time. So we'll be back. Okay, I am back. We are just now entering the chute at Trophy Run, and we're gonna fish this inside bend along what they call Big Island here, which would still be the north bank. And as we enter this side of the island. All this kind of creates an eddy. The water's going to slow down. I'm going to have to do some extra work with the trolling motor to keep my flies drifting the way I want them to. I have to slow the boat down considerably to match the speed of that water in the eddy. And I'm even going to hold my rod tip just a little bit higher, try to keep that line that's setting on the difference between the eddy water and the fast water, try to keep it from creating big bends. Along the edge of this island, there's a real shallow spot, about 5 to 8 foot off the very front of it, and then it drops down into a pretty steep drop off, and I usually find that those fish are kind of right, and I'm going to scoot in a little bit closer, kind of right in that drop off usually. You'll notice if your boat's drifting too fast, you'll see kind of a little tiny wake start coming off of your indicator. It means you're dragging it too fast. And you can see it's pretty evident, that drop off that I'm talking about. You can see kind of there was a fish and I wasn't paying attention, looking over at what I was talking about. You can see it. You can see the rocks real shallow there, and then it gets real dark colored, and kind of just split the difference there and cast right next to that. But I've done very well along this edge many a times when the water's running, dragging scuds and San Juan worms and egg flies and jerkbaits. Gotta keep my eye on my indicator. And you got to be careful because the current will suck you in over into the eddy, and your boat will slow down too much, so you kind of got to keep a little constant bump to keep yourself out in the fast water. A little bit of line mending. By this time, the last time I drifted this, I had caught 2 and had 3 other bites, so a little bit slower this drift around. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but for a Monday, there are a lot of boats out here today. Not surprising with how nice the weather is, but regardless, there are a lot of people out here today. There's a fish. Oh, ho, 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 ho. I did not get a good hook set there. I'd say so far today, out of all these little stretches that I found fish in, best one, definitely the cable down to the big hole. And then the second best one was from, basically the golf course down through the Narrows, running the north bank where they have some of their beds made for mating. Oh, wow. Oh, please don't tell me he took it. Oh, he did take it. He took every bit of my egg with him. Darn it. Well, I'll be back again. I'm going to see if I can fashion up something different. Okay, I'm back. We are just now approaching the edge of Lookout Island. I'm gonna make sure my rig is good again. Looks good. So my fix for my egg hook problem, I had some size 10 bait holder hooks. Not quite as shaped, but I think it'll do the trick. We'll find out. That's what I had to work with. I want to say that the best type of hook is an octopus hook for this, and I'm probably just going to have to invest and get some. I want to get real tight into the island here. I didn't get quite as tight as I wanted to be. Once again, any of the edges of the islands, this fast riffling water, it's probably going to be a good bet. And then I'm predicting that I'm going to get a bite about right where this riffling water runs off the edge of the island into this deeper hole. I might try to get one more cast in there a little bit better. There we go. That was a good cast. Boat's kind of getting pushed upstream by the wind, so I'm gonna scoot it downstream just a touch there. Oh, there he was, right on the edge of the drop. Alright, this is the last time I'm going to turn it off, and we're going to come back on down by the golf course. Missed my chance on that stretch. Alright, have arrived at the last house in the beginning of the golf course property. I'm going to I've just been fishing in between these spots. So I'm gonna just make sure everything looks good here, no moss or anything like that. A little bit of moss on my scud. And the bead is spaced right, so I'm sitting about 50-60 feet out from the north bank here. This is probably the heaviest area that I know of that has trout beds on it, otherwise known as reds. There's a fish. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys get to watch me miss a lot of fish today. Like I said, I think there's something to a different hook with that trout bead. And I think the ones they use are the octopus hooks. So I will account that not quite the proper gear with that trout bead today has led to less fish all the way to the boat. But I have had quite a number of short hookups or bites on it. But I'd say it's still 50-50 on the number of fish that I've caught on the scud or the egg, but I definitely think the egg has gotten more bites, that bead. I'm also wondering if I could get away with running like a 4X tippet, something with a little more set in strength. I don't know, with the water moving as fast as it is, that they'd be really able to see that 4X. Maybe go to a 4-pound line. This water from the golf course inside edge down runs just a little bit slower, especially this first half of it. It's possible that I could go with a slightly smaller split shot, but I don't find it necessary. I'm not dragging the bottom too hard. There's one. Oh my goodness. I saw the egg in his mouth. Yep. It's just not the right hook. Especially this one. I was definitely having a little bit better success with the egg hook. As soon as I figure, gosh, wow. As soon as I figure out what the best hook is, I'll get back on here and let you guys know. And if you already know, then just tell me in the comments and save me the time figuring it out. Golf course property just ended right here. We start back on the row of houses again, and the water does get just a touch deeper right through here. So as that weight kind of ticks the bottom and pulls the bobber back this way, once it's straight back behind me for a little bit and I don't get any bites, I pull it back in and put it back over there, straight out in front of me, a little bit closer to the bank, a little bit closer to where I think those trout beds are. Bite about the same right up by the golf course, but a little bit slower this drift than it was the last time. Seems to be how it always works when I have the camera with me. Pull in and just check everything out again. Yep. Trout bead was slid back down again. I imagine that if you wanted to keep that bead directly in place, if you took your line, put it through the bead, and then put it through one or two more times around and back around through the bead, and then pegged it, it would probably hold dead still the same way every time. And I just thought of that. I just remembered someone telling me about that. And that's what I should have done. That could also account for me not getting the hook set on many of them, because they're able to hold on to the bead while it slides down the line instead of the bead coming out of their mouth and the hook going in. Oh, trial and error. Oh, I should have thought about that. You've heard us talk about it before, but we are coming up on the Big Brown House. One of my favorite spots on the lake. Don't know what it is about the stretch and the topography under the water, but the trout definitely like it in this big stretch of water right here. Oh no! Come on now. Did I break off? Oh, I got it back. There are some logs down right there, and I was just hooked on one, but I managed to come out unscathed. Probably going to be a long video today, so I wish it was filled with me reeling more fish in, but certainly had my fair share of bites. There's a fish. Stay on the hook. I'm gonna spot lock and hope that I can get him into the net before he swings past the boat. And another taker for the scud. Howdy! Okay. Come here, little buddy. There we go. He's got quite the little kipe on his jaw. And the dreaded tandem rig in the net. Okay. Push the boat downstream with the trolling motor here. Get her going at speed. And we're off again. This little stretch from like the top of the brown house down to, oh, the last house gets just a little faster. A bunch of logs and makes kind of some good riffles in here. When the water's running enough, you can definitely find fish here. When it's not running enough, this is a very shallow area of the lake. There was a hit. That might have been the bottom. I don't know. If you think it's the bottom, if you think it's a fish, just kind of pull up and try to set the hook on it. It's a lot more times than not, it is a fish. We're going through the narrows now. Just started. This, once again, this entire edge that we've been fishing this last stretch is riddled with different reds where the trout are mating, and it's kind of one of the same spots they did it last year. There's one right there. That seagull almost flew right over my head. I think today would have been a great day to work some jerk baits along those bluffs, trying to catch a bigger trout, and probably another great day for jig fishing too. I just haven't tried any of it. I've been obsessed with catching them on this trout bead. But for most of the people I talked to today, it would seem like scuds have been the probably the winner. Well, that's probably long enough. You can keep fishing this stretch a little bit longer, but we're gonna call it a day there. So we thank you guys for watching. Like and share us on Facebook. And battery almost died on the camera, but we'll see you again tomorrow.